Today I'm looking forward to our discussion on financial supply chain trends for 2015. My first question is regarding, I know there's a lot happening in the supply chain as far as the financial aspects of the supply chain. Can you talk to me about some of the three of the trends that you see in this space?
Yeah, absolutely, Dustin. I'd be happy to. You know, we could probably talk for hours about this topic in terms of trends in the financial supply chain. Let me try to narrow it down to three at least that myself and my team are dealing with on a regular basis with our consulting business and clients in this space. And I'll try to mention why I see them as trends as well. To make this, normally dry topic a little more fun, my magic letter for today is P, as in payments. So we'll try to stick with a few trends that follow along the letter P. And the first one I'd like to talk about today is platforms. And in terms of system platforms and so on, one of the trends we're seeing is around the vendors who have both either new or mature e-procurement and payment platforms, and their attempts right now to add a finance component to them. And it shouldn't be shocking that this is a trend. Everybody is looking for value-added services to leverage their existing technology investments, both on the technology provider side, since many of their old revenue streams have or may become free services, but just as importantly is on the customer side, where they've spent a lot of money on ERP systems, big accounting systems, and they need to squeeze more money out of those previous investments, or decide to migrate to newer, maybe more nimble cloud-based systems. Looking at examples beyond enterprise resource planning systems, you can have a look at supply chain management systems that are looking for new hooks and ways to tap into different parts of the full financial supply chain process. You can look at some of the global networks like GSX or SWIFT and many others who have spent years to create massive networks of data exchange. And they are now looking to add payments, perhaps if they hadn't already done so. And for those already in the payment business, they are looking to add financing components like trade finance and supply chain finance. And in some cases, even better support downstream audit processes. While everybody talks about the term collaboration, what system these days doesn't say they have some form of collaboration? The real goal is to leverage whatever data sharing and collaboration there is to find what I call a common version of the truth in the information they are saying between trading partners, between buyers and sellers, and use that common truth information in downstream processes. And more importantly, for the vendors of these solutions, design new revenue streams.
Well, that's interesting. Can you talk about the second P trending topic?
Let me speak a little bit about pricing models as the second P. As I mentioned before, pricing models are changing. It's no different than when basic IT services went from being a prime revenue source for the vendors to a free service and freemium models with upgrade options that would cost customers more. That the same thing that's happened with email services over the last 25 years is happening now with more complex solutions. So what Hotmail and Google did with email to what Microsoft is now doing with desktop applications, making them, for the most part, free and available, the same trend is in place with more complex solutions. And supply chain management is one of the more complex areas of business. The cloud has created flexibility for the vendors to pick and choose what they want to charge for. As an example, you may see basic research systems for procurement not costing the customer anything directly, but the payment service on the back end of that same overall solution might be charging the customer. Being able to search for transportation carriers from a centralized database might not cost the customer anything, but taking advantage of preferred rates might. Where will this all end? Well, nobody knows, but the logical extension is that perhaps some procurement and payment services become standard and out of the box, and the supply chain finance or trade finance becomes the chargeable value-added service provided at a higher margin by these service providers.
And can you elaborate on the third trend in this industry?
Yeah, I'm running out of words that start with P, but I will talk next about partnerships as our third P. The financial supply chain is a confusing space right now. Partnerships are certainly a necessary phenomenon to bridge the gaps between all the complex processes from at the front end, demand and supply management, all the way through to real-time transportation management and physical movements, the associated payments that come later, and finally auditing. What we're seeing right now is a lot of the Davids and Goliaths, small and large firms are all trying to figure out how to play nice together, how to dance together as business partners, and in other cases, they're still sort of checking each other out, deciding how to best pair up. And, this is happening when historically large banks especially, who are very good at moving money, who have large systems, are in general not that great at partnering with small technology firms. So it's going to be very interesting to see which ones, which of them can work well together and create something truly innovative. In terms of some of the motivation for this, some of it is filling gaps in terms of product and service offerings, but another reason is geographic coverage. So you see some unique partnerships forming almost out of necessity because perhaps a natively European or a natively American business is really trying to penetrate one of the growing emerging markets, and they can't do that through their existing mandates and licensing. They're required to use partners as a method to get into those markets quickly. And what we're seeing is a trend towards morphing identities. And this is really a culmination of the trends we've already discussed so far today. In other words, the change in platforms, the shifting of pricing models, and the different partnerships is really forcing a repackaging of financial supply chain services to the point where some bank offerings are starting to look a little more full service. And some technology firms are even starting to look like payment and finance companies. I'm certain that the landscape 5 years from now is going to look significantly different.
Out of curiosity, is there an area within this space there's very little change?
I would say the one thing that has remained fairly constant is the growth of electronic B2B payments. And despite the fact that still almost 50% of U.S. B2B payments are still not yet in electronic form. They're in some form of paper or pseudo paper. Electronic payments are still growing at a very fast clip, and that should continue really for the next 20 years or so until the law of diminishing returns starts to kick in to that trend graph.
Well, thank you, Tom. And can you provide a brief background of yourself?
Sure. I've been the CEO of Exalis and its predecessor companies for the past 19 years. Our firm's focus has been on the financial aspects of the supply chain, including procurement, contracting, payments, financial reconciliation, as well as payment-related auditing. We've implemented systems for transportation payments, intergovernmental transaction reconciliation, as well as consumer payment solutions. And our team focuses on solution strategy and design in addition to building and implementing financial supply chains. We've done business in over 25 countries since 1996. And, as the leader of this team, I try to stay on top of what's current and what's happening in our industry.
Thank you.
My pleasure, anytime.